The NDC-12 isn't just about a change in a code. It really is making sure that your business processes, your technology, and your people are ready and aligned. Not just your internal teams and your internal things that you do, but all the partners that you touch downstream.
Hello and welcome to the Next Level Supply Chain with GS1 US, a podcast in which we explore the mind-bending world of global supply chains, covering topics such as automation, innovation, unique identity, and more. I'm your co-host, Reid.
And I'm Liz.
And welcome to the show. Welcome to today's show, and thank you for joining us. Our guest today is Rose Campasano of Criterion Consulting. We're going to be talking about the 12-digit National Drug Code, or NDC-12, and Rose has a ton of experience in this space, and she shares with us a lot of great examples and things to look out for. So without any further ado, let's jump right into the conversation.
Rose, welcome to the show.
Hi, I am so excited to be here, and thank you very much for asking me.
We're really looking forward to the conversation. I think there's so much that's going on with healthcare and that kind of industry that we as consumers and businesses have no idea. So we are looking forward to you kind of blowing our minds with this information. Before we jump in, would you please introduce yourself and set the stage? What is NDC-12? And in my notes that says National Drug Code. And what's changing to make it a really important topic right now?
So I'm Rose Campasano. I have been in the life sciences and supply chain industry for decades. I will not tell you how many decades, but decades. It's been an absolute joy to be in the life sciences space for as long as I have, and I've seen lots and lots of changes over the years. But the topic of NDC-12, or the National Drug Code 12, is really going to be hitting home because it's the first time in many years that the format of that national drug code, which represents the company that manufactures it, the actual medicine, and the packaging quantities of that medicine, it's all encompassed in that code. And we have been living with an NDC variable structure for decades now. And this new law that the FDA, the Federal Drug Administration, has just recently dropped is the fact that they are going to format that into a fixed format 12-digit number. And while that sounds like it's an IT thing, go tell your IT guys to get it done, it really is critical across the supply chain because there are medicines in every step of that supply chain that has that number on it, that needs to be represented, and that it is traceable and trackable for that medicine that it represents. So when you think about how many times medicines change hands from the time it's manufactured to the distribution centers, the logistics centers, the drugstores, the patients, the hospitals, the care facilities, and then potentially back up the supply chain if it has to be returned, there's a lot that has to be addressed when this number changes.
Yeah, for sure. I think we often forget. I like to use like aspirin. You can get it at the grocery store. You can get it at your pharmacy. You can get it at your hospital. You might need it at school.
How about your local gas station or your 7-Eleven? This is not just about prescription drugs. It's about anything, including over-the-counter drugs that you can go and buy. We lived through this thing called DSCSA, the Drug Security Supply Chain Act, which was a 10 to 13-year journey that we took in order to be able to trace prescription drugs to keep the counterfeits off the market. This is something that impacts the simplest non-prescription medications as well. So when you think about all the things that come classified as drugs, not just the aspirin, but even the rubs that have medications in them, everything. And today, when you buy them, you go to the checkout and they scan the UPC code. Well, the problem, and we can touch on that in a bit, one of the big problems is that linear barcode that gets scanned at the register, that UPC thing that we've been so used to seeing all our lives since the 70s, that is not going to fit the representation of an NDC-12.
It doesn't have enough data space in there, and we're moving over to the 2D
Right.
QR code, if you will.
Exactly. A QR code, a 2D matrix, there will have to be changes in order to support that now. So there's a lot that has to happen, and it's not just about, again, not just about changing it from a 10-digit number to a 12-digit number. It's about the scanners. It's about how those pieces of equipment are going to be able to read it and interpret it, and the software behind that. And if you think about it, the law that is going into effect, we have until 2033, which everyone will say, oh, that's a long time. But it's not, because so many things have to change. And when it does occur, the manufacturers will have been producing medicines all along up to that date with a 10-digit code on it. So now we have to support both of them for some period of time until the medicine actually is, eliminated out of the supply chain as it expires or it gets pulled from the shelves. So there's a lot that has to go into this. It's not about just changing a number from 10 digits to 12 digits. We live in a very validated world in the pharmaceutical space. Every time you touch something, whether it's packaging changes or it's line system to print them, or it's scanning and reading and the ability to make sure that you can get that captured, plus all the SOPs, all of the standard operating procedures that you live and breathe by in your organization, they all have to change. Everyone needs to be trained. Everyone needs to be re-educated on these things. So is it a number change? Yes, it is. Is it something gigantic? And should it be treated as not just an IT project, but a company program that really needs to be sponsored and really understood at the highest levels of the organization? Absolutely.
All right. I need to interrupt because my mind is blown. I'm looking at Liz going, I'm done with adulting. I just want to go back to, not knowing, ignorance is bliss, right, type of thing. But okay, let's pull us back.
Hold on. Wait, Reid. She got me when she started talking about, Rose, I'm talking about you like you're not here. When you said the 10-digit code is going to live from now until 33, and then it will live together in the supply chain and has to walk together until it either comes off the shelves because it's expired or it's purchased.
Backwards
that
compatible.
Could be years. And that's not like you can estimate, because every product, I'm making an assumption, has a different shelf life and expiration.
Think about the products that have, let's say, a 5-year lifespan, right? Now, vaccines have a longer lifespan, right? But products that have a 4 or 5 year lifespan, the final day of the ruling in 2033, well, that's great, but now I can have those products in my supply chain for the next 5 years, running with duplicate numbers. So that means when I receive it as a distributor, I have to know, is this the 10-digit or is it the 12, and are they the same product? How do I know they're the same product? I have got to have tons and tons of great, well-tested transition software components in all of this. It's about great partnerships. It's about collaboration. It's about understanding and moving in the same direction with diligence, because if there is something in the supply chain somewhere in the middle that isn't ready yet, then everything falls apart. And so really the end of the food chain, right? The hospitals, the dispensers, the daycares, the facilities, all of those things, those places need to be ready as soon as they can be. And those are the ones who have the most complex things that they have to test and be ready for, right? Because they do the returns, they have the rebates, they have the cost centers that they have to take care of. They deal with Medicaid and Medicare and all of the programs that they have to administer to. And then just in general, every time you go to a hospital, every time you go to a facility, what do? They read the UPC code on the medicine. They read the medicine bottles. They sell it by the UPC. Their systems, their point of sale systems have to be ready to do this. Now, some of that is going to get handled because of something totally different in the food side of the world, which is Sunrise 2027, where companies are moving to do that more 2D barcode kind of thing, the QR codes and things like that, because they want to be able to give consumers more information. Well, that's great. But if you're planning for that, then you should be planning for the NDC-12 as well.
Yeah. We have something exciting to share with you. It's a special podcast discount for our favorite event of the year.
GS1 Connect.
That is right, our annual supply chain focus conference, and this year it's in Las Vegas 2026.
I cannot wait. Reid, how many GS1 Connects have you been to?
I believe it's been 7.
Okay. So it's a few less than I've been to. It's all good. I love going to Connect to meet our attendees every single year who bring so many great examples from grocery, food service, retail, and healthcare about how they solve supply chain visibility challenges. And in 2026, Las Vegas gives us the perfect excuse for a few puns about how GS1 standards can help you make bold moves that lead to big wins.
Oh, I see where you're going with this, Liz, and I can play. GS1 Connect is your chance to deal yourself a winning hand in operations with the power of GS1 standards.
Wait, I got a better one. GS1 Connect is also the perfect place to hit the jackpot on connections from the exhibitor floor to the networking table and forge high-value relationships that pay dividends long after the bright lights fade.
Now, that's pretty good. Learning strategies worth betting on for sure, but you can hear from trailblazers across the industry and walk away with bold insights that help you turn risk into rewards.
I like it. Okay, that may be enough puns for the day. Wait, I just thought of one more. If your supply chain feels like a roll of the dice, GS1 Connect in Las Vegas is your sure bet for success. So, mark your calendars from June 9th to 11th and join us at GS1 Connect. It's time to take your supply chain game to the next level. As a podcast listener, we are able to extend a special discount.
That's right, Liz. As a podcast listener, you can get 10% off the registration price. Go to connect.gs1us.org to register and enter the promo code GS1US Pod 10 to take advantage of this offer. If you've never been to GS1 Connect or if you've gone a dozen times, there's always something new to learn and new people to meet.
Absolutely. Again, the website is connect.gs1us.org and the promo code is GS1US Pod 10. See you there.
NDC-12 is often talked about as an administrative update. Why does that description not always reflect the reality that companies experience? Like, it seems like, hey, we got this little tweak, it's coming out, and we're going from 10 to 12, it's 2 digits, you'll be okay, keep going. Like,
It's exactly what we just talked about. I mean, the number of things that the NDC touches and where it is used to administer reports and labeling, internal systems, trading partner files, business processes all along the way. And it could be in electronic systems like your ERP system or your warehouse management system. But unfortunately, smaller companies, it could be sitting on someone's desktop in spreadsheets that they're doing matches to. Master data, internal data, transactional data, all of that is going to be impacted when you think about every place that the NDC is used in all of those systems across the pharmaceutical space to track those medicines, whether it is prescription grade or over the counter. That's how we track it, and that's how it's used to tell what medicine it is. So all of those systems are not only going to have to be reviewed and changed, but they're going to have to be tested. They're going to have to be tested from an integration standpoint so that you know that just because I scanned it doesn't mean the system that got it scanned to understood what to do with it. If I scan it and I send it to someone, it doesn't necessarily mean they did the right thing with it. So if you think about all of the levels of interaction that's going to have to happen, not just internally in your own company, across departments, your revenue departments, your finance departments, think about rebates, returns, discount programs that you run on medicines, all of those things. Internally, it's wonderful. Externally, you're going to have to make sure all your partners can support it as well.
So you said at the very beginning, whether it's the 10-digit or the 12-digit, what that number represents is the company, the actual medicine, and the quantity. So either in the old or the new 12 code, the code will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, 1, 2. And then in the master data or pointing back, we'll have those other 3 pieces of information.
Those pieces of information will still reside inside of the 12-digit code. The way that the 10-digit works today, at one point in time, there were company prefixes that were 4 digits and some that were 5 digits long, because we ran out of 4, so we moved to 5. And so the structure of those 10 digits got changed over time. If you could have a 4-digit company prefix and then a product code that's 4 digits and then the 2 digits for the quantity in the packing, or it could be 5 digits and 3 digits and then 2 digits for the. So there was this weird structure. And then on returns and in the Medicare programs and in the Medicaid programs, for some reason, they decided to make it 11 digits and they added a 0 depending on where it needed to be. It's very complicated. We lived in a complicated world.
Yes. So it's prescriptive. It's not pointing back. This number isn't going to point back to master data, kind of like the UPC does, right? This code will tell you all you need to know if you know how to crack.
Yeah.
So it will still represent, the first portion of the number will still represent the company prefix so that you know globally who you are. That's a unique number that's assigned to you. And then the center number will pertain to the fact that this is the medicine. And then the 2 digits will be how, it'll represent a quantity packing. It doesn't say, just because it says 50 doesn't mean it's 50 tablets or 50 units. It just means it's a value that they represented, and it's a different between a 01 or a 06 or 50 or whatever.
I think, Rose, you already started to answer it, but we know that the QR code, the 2D barcode, the Sunrise 2027 scanning a G10 or a global trade item number at point of sale. Why does the NDC-12 matter alongside Sunrise 2027? You mentioned it, and I just want to dig at that a little more.
Because Sunrise 2027 is coming to us. So companies right now are looking at how they're going to reformat their labeling to put this new barcode on there that represents theoretically more consumer-based information, more information to help you and I make better decisions about what we're doing with products, not necessarily medicines, but food in general, right? The industry is looking at that. So that's all a great thing from a consumer standpoint. It's wonderful. But now when you layer on this new change for the NDC-12, and you think about the fact that number, 12 digits long, will not fit in that UPC barcode, that's going to go away anyway. Companies that do manufacture food and products and also medicines, over-the-counter medicines, might want to consider what they're going to do with those barcodes. There's a number of different barcodes that can be used, but there's only certain ones that the FDA will allow you to use for medicine, including over-the-counter. So you have to kind of take a step back. And if you're going through the exercise for 2027 and you do have any of these types of products in your product line, you might want to consider how you're going to readjust it so it'll cover both. Yes.
So can I jump in here? Because that's where I thought you were going to go. But let's go back to the very beginning of our conversation. We talked about like aspirin, available at hospitals, grocery stores, and convenience stores. What you're really saying here is you need to give thought. If you're moving to a 2D barcode for aspirin that's going to be sold at a grocery store, do you want to have a separate channel that has a separate 2D barcode on it for your NDC information that's going to a hospital, or do you want to leverage the same one in those capacities so that I manufacture it, I package it, I label it, and I send it on its different journeys throughout the supply chain?
Exactly. You want to make the best decisions for your company, right? For what it is that you do, what you package, and how it's going to impact you financially, commercially, from a distribution standpoint. Do you make it more complex by making 2 different labels? Do you make it less complex for yourself and industry? And, what does it mean to you? And is there a specific business reason that you might need to separate them? Once you understand that, then, you can move on from there and make some good decisions. But it's not something to jump into lightly. You really need to take a harder look, not just at what you need, but downstream and what your what your business partners are going to expect and need from you.
I really want to call out, because this was an epiphany for me at the beginning of this year after attending a couple of conferences. I swim in this every day, right? I understand the 2D, and we're Sunrise 2027, and most people are familiar with a sunset. We're sunsetting this product. This product is going away. We're actually sunrise. We're starting the event. We're starting the day with this, and we're moving to 2D. And most common 2D barcode is a QR code. That's, COVID made it famous in the United States. But those have been around for 30 years. And those have been on products for tons of years. But this is the nuance that people are missing. A person looks at the product and says, oh, we have it. We're good. That QR code, 9 times out of 10, was set up by somebody in your marketing division. And your UPC code is set up by somebody in your product/supply chain division.
Correct.
Those two groups need to come together, have some drinks, collaborate, whether it's coffee or martinis, that you guys figure that out on your own time. But in all seriousness, they need to come together, because a lot of times I was just at a large syndicate master data company, and we were talking about 2D, and they're like, yeah, we don't have anything to do with that. And I'm like, oh, yes, you do.
No, you do.
Oh, yes, you are part of the process. Yeah, but our customers already have it. I'm like, they have it, but they don't have it in the format that is going to be utilized at point of sale or for an NDC-12 scenario. And this is the nuance that people forget. Just because you have a barcode on the back of your product doesn't mean it's a universal product code that contains a global trade item number. It could be a proprietary 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9. It can be proprietary to your environment, but if you want a universal, SAT word for the young folks listening, ubiquitous solution that's out there, you really need to have these conversations, because we're seeing a lot of marketing groups that have 2D barcodes on their products, but that is just proprietary marketing information.
Exactly. Those were designed to help me as a consumer scan it, understand it. We worked at a previous company. We worked with a number of food and beverage companies that put those labels on there so that they can tell consumers what to pair this alcohol with, or
best prepare it.
Fruits and berries were picked and things like that. And it's great from a consumer standpoint, but this is not what this is about. This is about tracking and ensuring that we can identify the medicines. Think about when you go and buy things like Sudafed or Actifed. They're over-the-counter medicines, but I still have to scan them. I still have to give them my driver's license and all of that information, because they're protected. They may not be, they're not pharmaceutical prescription medicines, but they're trackable medicines that we want to know what's happening with them.
They're over the counter, but behind the counter. You got to show some ID before you get there.
Exactly. And companies want to know, and the agencies want to understand where that medicine is going to. If it's not labeled right, if it's not properly labeled, and they can't scan it the right way at the point of sale, it's going to be a problem. The scanners that they go deep, those infrared scanners aren't going to necessarily be able to read the 2D barcodes. They're not designed to do that. So there's a lot of thought that has to go in this, which is, to me, why this isn't an IT project. This is a program that you need to institute within your organizations and say, we have to work together, understand every team that needs to be involved to make good decisions about this, find the numbers, find how it's used, find where it's integrated, and make really good, solid decisions. And we've got about a 7-year runway to make all that happen.
Yeah, and the 7 years is going to go fast. It's going to go fast. So where does this real work actually show up in organizations? I mentioned marketing and supply chains, and I'm sure that they're a little bit different, but are there some, low-hanging fruit that are pretty common throughout industries that you're seeing?
No one will want to admit it, but they'd best go ask and talk very clearly and distinctly with their finance team. This is going to be very impactful. And it's not an IT project. It's not a small project. It will need budget. It will need multiple year budgets to have your finance team understand the impact to this. And the way you talk to them about it is, What impact does it have on returns? What impact does it have on your sales? What impact does it have on revenue? What happens if you do returns? All of that is budget conscious information that if they understand the impacts, they're going to get on board and they're going to help you create the program that you need with multi-year financing to run this and involve your executive level, right? You want them to help you get that steering committee involved. That, to me, is the most important group.
That was gold that you just shared with us. I've always said, when you boil it down and distill it, it comes down to three things. People in business do something for three things: make money, save money, or be compliant.
Right.
Everything else is a personal decision.
Right.
But from a business standpoint, you're doing it to make money, save money, or be compliant. Right. And you just hit, hey, you have to be compliant if you're dealing with these types of products.
Right.
It's an NDC-12. Moving from 10, you better get with your finance team because this is going to have an impact on your business. And if you do it correctly, you can actually have a significant positive impact with reducing returns and increasing revenues and taking a leapfrog to invest in some technology where you can get a tenfold return on efficiencies that, this could be the jumping off point.
Right. The other department that is absolutely critical in all of this is your quality and regulatory teams. Everything is going to have to be tested, and you're going to have really great scripts, not just to test, kind of the business as usual, but what are my negative testing scenarios? What happens if it breaks? Where do I catch it? How do I know my exemptions are going up and the error rates are going up? Where do I track them at? How do I track them? Because I will tell you, it's going to be the handoffs that are going to kill us. So your quality and regulatory team are the teams that always watch for that stuff. So if you have finance involved, you have quality and regulatory involved, and they understand what's at stake, you've got the makings of the program that you're going to need to run for many, many years into the future to get it done right.
Amazing.
Oh, it really is. And there's so many pieces and parts to what you just said. My mind keeps thinking about any of the synergies with food, because I work very closely with Food Safety Modernization Act, which you already...
Yes, FSMA 204 involved in that as well.
204, right? And I'm just thinking about the importance of bringing all of the stakeholders together, because it isn't just an IT problem or a blank or a blank. And I wanted to touch on a little bit of all of the learnings to this point with the 10-digit number and moving to a new 12-digit number and taking the opportunity to maybe do things differently. Are there things that companies need to unlearn or new behaviors that they need to be thinking about to set themselves up for success?
So I'll call those the little surprise packages that we have waiting for us. The challenge is that for years, we understood that the global trade item number, the G1014, that we worked with so hard to get on the packaging for pharmaceuticals. Embedded in there is the National Drug Code, the 10-digit National Drug Code. Well, that won't be the case when it goes to 12, because we will not be able to fit it in there with the structure of the G1014 and what that represents. So there are literally buried in so many different software programs and processes where you get a G1014 and you go look for the global company prefix in there, or you go look for the master item data for the medicine that's embedded in there. But you can't do that anymore with the relationship between the NDC-12 and G1014. Yeah. It will not be there anymore. We have to unlearn and go find every piece of code that makes those references to find that information within the G1014 and undo that. Those have to turn into transition tables. Those have to turn into transformation, or kind of the crosswalk tables, as people call them these days, where this was my NDC-10. This was my G1014, and now here is my NDC-12. If I see any one of those, it means the same thing to me for the duration of this time. And so it's a matter of finding those hidden little gems in all of your software and, surprise, get rid of it make it do something different. But, we're so used to looking at that and going, oh, I see the GTIN. I can tell what the product is. I know what the company is. That's not going to be the case anymore. So there is a new, there's a new application identifier that we are working toward using. It's an AI 715. That is going to represent the new NDC-12. So when we package medications, especially in the prescription side of things, you'll have that as part of the package label in the 2D matrix that we're working with. So it's just so many things that you just make those assumptions. And for over a decade, we've been, looking at that and going, oh, I can see that. Well, I know what that is, but it won't be the case anymore. And you got to find it. So all those little surprise places buried in everyone's code, not just mine as a manufacturer or mine as a, logistics or a distributor, but in everyone's code to go and do that.
You called out the new application identifier and AI, and I just had to laugh because 8 years ago when I started with GS1 US, I was like, application identifiers, AI? I'm like, I think we're going to have a problem now because everyone's moving to AI and it means artificial intelligence. And they were like, well, get in line. We've been using it for 50 years.
We own it already. It's there.
Yeah, we don't own the acronym, but it's a good call out, that application identifier that's coming. In building off of, what you need to unlearn, let's take it a little bit different approach. And we talked about this earlier, our over-the-counter drugs. What are some of the smartest first steps these companies should be taking?
We've got to look at this holistically. I think GS1 and HDA, PDG, those places are going to be essential for helping us come together and looking at this holistically. Most people want to start at the top of the food chain and work your way down. But really, the areas that are going to have and feel the impact the most, but not understand what to do with it, is going to be at the end of the supply chain. The distributors, again, the dispensers, the hospitals, the healthcares, the little mom and pharmacies where they don't have the money, the resources, the funding to be able to do this. We need to help educate them. We need to help them understand what's going to happen. So to me,
what's coming down the pike.
Right. I think although we know the manufacturers are going to drive it because they're the ones who are going to put the labels on things. But ultimately, I'm hoping that by way of some of these really powerful and collaborative work groups, that we help bring them into the fold and help them understand and move forward with this so that they are ready for the very first implementation of this. They have to be. Otherwise, there's no sense. It'll be failed if we can't get them on board. So to me, I think that's the starting point. I really do. It's the collaborative groups that we are going to be working on. I'll be in the GS1 work group for the NDC-12. I can't wait to really, sink my teeth into it a little more. But I think that no company should just jump into making label decisions and saying, well, this is what we're going to do and we're moving forward and we don't really care, because they will care when their products can't be read, when their products can't be sold. It will impact them and it will come back to bite them. So I think let's help the end of the food chain, end of the chain of all of this, understand the impact and help them get there so that when we do make the move at a manufacturing level, it's going to be accepted.
I couldn't agree more. And I just want to call out, because I just experienced it numerous times in the last quarter, is doing it correctly. It's not that simple. You need to really collaborate. For example, we're seeing a lot of folks, they have the right QR code or 2D code. They don't have it in the right place.
Right.
And now their product scans twice. And they're doing a rebate or a sale reversal right there, and they're like, "What's going on?" And some people, and it's a bad customer experience. I mean, these are the little details that are being missed.
Can't put those codes too close to each other. They can't be overlapping.
Can't be too far apart.
No, be too far apart. So it is an exercise and dance, an elegant dance in making sure labeling is there. So
you're going to be making new friends at work.
So I guess if I could just have like one takeaway in all of this, it's really that the NDC-12 really isn't just about a change in a code, right? It really is making sure that your business processes, your technology, and your people are ready and aligned, not just your internal teams and your internal things that you do, but all the partners that you touch downstream. Because if they're not ready, you're not ready. So again, I look to the collaboration and the cross functionality that we have with companies like GS1, like HDA, like PDG. Those are the places that are really going to help bring those levels of that supply chain together on all of this.
It's awesome.
It's crazy. It's so, I mean, I could talk about it all day and we're running out of time. So I guess we won't. Reid and I end our podcast with 2 questions. I'll ask you the first. Today, whether in your work life or your personal life, what is your favorite technology that you're using right now?
I will tell you, I've started playing with some AI tools. And
Not application identifiers.
not application identifiers, artificial intelligence. And I've gotten to the point where I've named him. So Max and I have some very lively discussions now. And my husband will come into the room and say, "Who are you talking to?" And I say, "Max." But I'm finding that they're closed applications, right? And it's going to learn from you and it's going to learn how you behave. And so it's interesting working with 2 separate ones, 2 very different ones, to see how they interpret what I tell it. And I'm finding that I like the challenge of seeing how each of them are learning and in what mode they learn in. So it's a lot of fun. My intent is to actually write a book once I'm done.
Interesting.
That's so cool.
Awesome. The other question we like to ask is, what is something that you want to learn in the near future?
My personal space really has been highlighted by all of the years I've spent in the life sciences industry. I enjoy it. I've always told people that, as far as my opinion, there is no other place that every day you can look in the mirror and say, I did something that positively impacted the world. Not just me, not just anyone. And everyone you talk to, you know that you've done something that has had a positive impact on their life. And so the more I can learn about the life sciences industry and how I can help improve it, make it more secure, make it more confident for anyone, for you, for me, my parents, my children, my grandchildren, that's what I want to continue to do and continue to learn. That's where my space is.
That's awesome. Well, Rose, we can't thank you enough. You really dropped some great knowledge on us. One was a zinger with the finance team, and I couldn't agree more. It's probably one that everyone's overlooking or we'll get to later. So it's great information, great stuff. And we're glad that you're so involved with the industry. You really are helping all of us. So thank you for the time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will be happy to come back and talk about this again in a few months to see where we're at, give you more updates on, how things are progressing, but I'm happy to do that. I think this is a really great way to get the messaging out.
Yeah, we have to do a spot check in, see how everything's going.
For
That's
sure.
a great idea.
All right,
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I cannot wait to see all this.
Thank you for joining the Next Level Supply Chain with GS1 US. If you enjoyed today's show, you can subscribe to our feed or explore more great episodes wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to share and follow us on social media. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.